You gave the puppet strings long enough to strangle the world.
I want to know what happened.
They're coming.
These humans, their petty defiances. It's exhausting. I'd like to put an end to this.
What I love about working on this show is it's constantly evolving and changing, and no one is fully good or bad.
The human chairs, I just thought it would be aesthetically interesting. I tried to do a host chair first season, and I finally got my human chair, and who better to sit in it than Hale? She's now like a god. She has no peers. The closest she has to a confidant is a host she made in the image of her nemesis.
One of the most ambitious things that we're trying to accomplish this season is putting the host city into New York and getting the scale, the size, the scope, and selling all of that to the audience.
John Carlos, our production designer, had the unenviable task of figuring out if the hosts built themselves their own environment, what that would look like. And so we found this beautiful hotel in Cabo.
The resort in Cabo San Lucas was something I had actually come across in an article that always kind of had a strong resonance with me, and I just logged it into my brain. And as soon as Lisa said, bring us ideas of an interesting place that you think that could be a portrayal for this, immediately I felt that was the right move.
We really thought about how even architecture would change if governed by artificial creatures instead of humans, right? And so different shapes that weren't necessarily beholden to the traditional shapes of architecture would emerge.
When you enter and exit Host City, you basically walk across a bridgeway, takes you to the base of the Viceroy location. Is how we tied Manhattan and Los Cabos together. As you enter, you kind of go under this nest structure, which is kind of this organic structure, and it's the merger of kind of these indigenous type architecture with the cubes.
One of the hallmark design ideas from the beginning of the show has been very simple, very clean. And in a way, I think the hosts sort of, on a primordial level, kind of trying to recreate their first environments, right? The sort of sterile, clean nature of the lab in which they were made.
We have Hale's tower that we're putting in the middle of the Viceroy, and it's this big tower where she can look out onto Manhattan. In the middle of her tower is this giant speaker where she emits the deafening sound that controls the people who've been infected by the flies.
The tower design you can kind of see here. At the bottom is one speaker cone, at the top is a second with a ring. The ring and the speaker cone at the top are reminiscent of the sound bars that you saw in the labs, the sound labs as we called them in episode 3.
Throughout the season, you'll see this kind of conical shape repeated throughout the city as ways in which she is broadcasting the sounds that she controls humans with.
There was a frequency at which the world vibrated. It caused joy, harmony. Dip below that frequency, chaos.
Once again, the fiction in the show is not so fictional. They've broken down different frequencies in sounds, and when you're at church or you listen to these booming chords on an organ, they're working at a frequency that actually help to induce a state of euphoria in the human mind. So we are able to be puppeteered in beautiful ways and in terrible ways by so many things.
The origins of Hale's control tower is the season 1 control map. Their idea of a circular room, whereas the walls were red before and the map was white, we did the opposite. So we did the white walls that were enveloped in kind of that organic web material. And then also the hologram was in the red. So it's in the same color palette, but the inverse, since it's now Hale's control.
You're bleeding.
Last season, we really saw her scratching. There was this idea that she almost wanted to scratch herself out of her skin. You know, she was Dolores's programming ideas inside of Hale's body and reality, and it was very hard to contend with both those things, to reconcile them. I think this season she falters in understanding if her plan is going to work out, if her path is right.
Why don't you just force us to join you?
Because that's what they would have done.